Danielle, so what inspired you to choose a career in video production?
Ooh, so first of all, can you hear me all right? Is it working?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Cool, cool. Awesome. Um, what inspired me to choose a career in video production? Um, so I actually my career path has always was always sort of directed towards performance and being in front of the camera and not behind the camera. At 12, I was going to Juilliard pre-college. My original major was in vocal performance in college as well. Um,
Nice.
and and through that I had kind of I had also always as a kid liked playing with technology, and so I had been playing with cameras and different computer softwares and all that since I was a young child. But I always saw those two interests as something that were totally separate, right? There was my creative performance interest, and there was my technology, um, more like math side of the brain interests.
Yeah.
And then I started doing some short films, um, with some friends whose father was a professional producer, um, mostly on the performance side of it. And then while we were making the film, I realized, oh my goodness, there's a lot of things that they're doing while making these films, like filming and editing and all this other stuff that is very creative, that that I never really saw as being creative. And sort of through making narrative work and through being on the performance side of things, I ended up shifting to really focusing on doing more writing, more directing, and actually eventually kind of being a DP as well, and just really being the person behind the camera. And so that's it. Sort of happened in a very accidental, organic type of way, where I just sort of was playing around with my different interests. Um,
That's awesome. It makes me think
mhm.
about like, so I'm in Silicon Valley, so it makes me think about all these young kids that are just like programming at such a young age.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, they know how to speak code and do code and everything, which is really fascinating. And that's awesome that you got to experiment at an early age, because I do know a lot of people that end up experimenting at a later age, which isn't bad, but it's really good to be able to have that opportunity to experiment.
Yeah, I think it gives you a head start too on knowing what you like and what you don't like and what you prefer, right? Because I
Right.
think I just spent a lot of time as a kid playing almost with different professions. I felt like a little professional all the time, but I sort of played around with different things. Like I played around with coding, I played around, with performance, with film, and I just sort of it certain things stuck and certain things didn't.
Mhm. Now, you run your own company now, um, full video production agency, and then you worked at Drift previously, right? Um,
It did.
has there been anything that you learned from Drift that you took over, not took over, but basically took it to your company as something valuable as a learning lesson or experience?
100%. I don't think I would be able to run a company had I not worked at Drift first. Um,
Interesting.
I did not. First of all, I never really had the I never really had like the dream or the prospect of running a company. It was never something that I saw myself doing. It wasn't something that I even thought I would ever do.
Uh-huh.
Um, I actually my job at Drift was something again that I kind of got an accident. This is basically the summer before my senior year of college. I wanted to get some sort of job or internship in the film or theater industry doing something creative, but the problem is everything in the film and theater industry is is unpaid, and I could not afford to live in New York or LA without doing a job that had some sort of paycheck involved. And so I said to myself, okay, what can I do that is still really creative, that will give me tons of hands-on experience, doing creative work and in production, while also getting a paycheck. And then I saw this job opening at Drift, and that was sort of that. And I ended up working at Drift not just for the summer, but throughout my senior year of college, and just finished up school at night. Um, and from there, Drift is really where I learned everything I know about business and marketing
Mm.
and that whole side of what I do. Because before that, I had never really done anything in the world of business or marketing or tech. I had dipped my toes into coding as a kid, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I I had never really saw myself as an entrepreneur, though I had never read entrepreneur books or marketing books, and I really always joke that I got my MBA in marketing from Dave Gerhardt because that's really where that's where I really learned everything that I did. Because I wasn't studying marketing
Hmm.
or business or anything like that. But to be honest, even if I was studying marketing or business, I don't think it would have given me nearly as much knowledge or skills or information as I did learn working from Drift. So
So what motivated you to become an entrepreneur? Like, hey, I actually feel motivated to do this, and I'm going to take a leap of faith, and I'm going to do my own thing.
um, honestly, the two things were working at Drift and also at a few different companies. I learned what I liked and what I didn't like, and I discovered that the only way to really get the the most out of what you to really spend your days doing what you like
Hmm.
and focusing more on that and less of what you don't like, especially in terms of running a company, was to start my own thing. So that was the first part of it, and the second thing
That
was
makes
just
sense.
I saw a need in the market, right? And
Right.
so I just kept getting inquiries because so at the time I was working as the director of marketing at a bigger production company in New York City, and I really hated it because these production companies who are focused on just production know absolutely nothing about business and marketing. They don't really know how to connect this
Mm.
really beautifully shot content to an actual marketing strategy. And so they create content that looks really nice, but has nothing to do with the client's marketing strategy, with the target market, nothing. Then on the
Mm.
flip side, you have all these agencies who give you this great strategy and a really nice looking pitch deck, but there's nothing you could actually do with it. Like you have to go and then execute on all of that.
All right.
And so there was a real need for someone who understood both the marketing side of it and the high quality video production. And because that was something that I had experience doing, I just kind of kept getting inquiries about it. It was a problem I kept hearing over and over again. And honestly, eventually, there were just so much work coming in for that reason that it didn't make sense for me to not start my own thing. So it was almost sort of the and again an accidental thing where there was just a need for it, so I created it.
Nice. Yeah, that's one common interest that I've noticed with entrepreneurs that I've interviewed in the past, because before the podcast show for entrepreneurs and B2B marketing professionals, and now it's become more of a focus, narrow niche of just B2B marketing professionals. That's why I wanted to have you on, because I'm like, oh, I know someone, and this is a huge need because a lot of people ask me, a lot of marketers ask me, do you do video? And I'm like, no, and I don't know who to refer that out to because if I did, that
Yeah,
just kind of just tells you how much of a need that is still. And it still is even for LinkedIn, for social media. I mean,
yeah,
you can get, I don't know any other form of marketing when it comes to video that can get you more customers. I really don't. I mean,
yeah.
maybe text only, I don't know. But to me, I've seen it very successful personally. But the one connection that I am getting from just what you're saying is there's a need in the market. No one's really capitalizing on it. And that's how entrepreneurs basically begin.
Yeah,
Pretty interesting.
absolutely.
Now, in our last meeting, we were talking about, seeing a lot of marketing professionals with custom videos on LinkedIn, utilizing Headliner app for videos, right? What's the difference between Headliner and custom videos?
Yeah, so here's what I always say, right? Is if you have zero budget, if you are like your company has no money, you do not have a dime to really spend on video marketing at all, then Headliner is certainly way better than nothing. Like
Mhm.
it'll help. But the thing is, it's going to blend into the feed. It's going to look like everything else, and because it's really more designed by a computer software than a person, it's not designed to understand optimization. It does not follow best practices for what actually works on LinkedIn. And the best thing about getting it done by a human is that there are certain custom things you can do to make it stand out, to make it really optimized. And the great thing, is like at Epiq Media, we've tested all these things. We've tried different formats. We've seen what works and what doesn't. And we've just had such high success with these specifically branded, customized pieces of social content that you're just going to see such a higher ROI on it that in my opinion, if you have any sort of budget, just don't use Headliner, because it's going to look like you used Headliner. And almost every single time one of our clients posts a video, they get asked, "Oh my God, how did you make this? Who made this? Like, is this like this?" Because it's notable that it's not by an app, or like, what app did you do to make this? And the answer is, it's not an app, it's a person. And you're just, that's the thing, is you can't automate creativity. You can't automate creativity, and creativity is the thing that's going to really get you to stand out, not a specific app, not a method or a process. It's just, it's the creativity that really, that having a person behind it really gives it.
Yeah. What kind of features have you seen from your years of experience in video production that has really converted? You spoke a little bit about ROI, or even increase engagement. That's something everybody wants. It's like, I want more LinkedIn engagement, likes, comments, all this stuff, right?
Yeah, the biggest thing is a great headline. There's a structure that I've just sort of discovered and found, and that's, having that big headline up top, and having those captions on the bottom, because most people don't watch things with sound on. And if you have a really engaging headline, more people are going to go and watch that video. They're going to go, "Oh, that's interesting." And honestly, 90% of the time, when clients send us suggested headlines, we almost always change it. And that's because the headline is just so important, and we kind of have it down to a science in terms of what works and what doesn't, right? It needs to be urgent, unique, something provocative. The more provocative, the better, right? And so those are the types of headlines that are really gonna make you want to click. It's really click. It's really finding that balance between clickbait, but making sure you're delivering on that value that you're promising with that headline.
Yeah. I love that, because there's a lot of marketing professionals that, need that person in their corner or a team in their corner to help them see that, like another pair of eyes, right? And then there's some that maybe copywriting isn't their strength, and maybe that's something where they do need help with. So that's awesome that you guys do provide that recommendations as well. Now, what's a commonly held belief in B2B marketing that you passionately disagree with?
It's less of a held belief and more of a common practice, because people don't know better. And the thing that I hate, and the funny thing is, most people in the industry also actually hate it, because I have this conversation at least twice a day, are what people are using for homepage videos. The first thing is the animated explainer video. And then the second thing is the like, here's our brand values homepage video. And I'm going to talk about both of them and why they both suck. The first one is the animated explainer video. It's so 1990s. It's outdated. It's so generic. I actually, I was talking about it and had someone seriously cite. They were like, "Well, this saw this percent conversion increase when Dropbox did this type of animated explainer video." And then I looked at their data and I said, "Yeah, that's from 15 years ago. Don't be the brand. You just cited something for serious. Like, don't be the brand that's stuck in the type of content that people were creating 15 years ago. Don't make that. It's boring. It's generic. And here's how the experience goes, right? Someone clicks play, and then they get bored probably about 5 to 10 seconds through, because those 5 to 10 seconds feel like 5 minutes. And then they scrub through to the middle to see if they can find what they're looking for. And then they usually give up and just scroll down and see if they can find what they're looking for somewhere in the copy, and they get overwhelmed by the copy, they leave, they go somewhere else. That's the animated explainer video experience. And then the second type of video that is like that was sort of a standard that brands were using, were this like, here's our brand values. Here I am, a CEO, telling you about my company and my brand values. And the honest truth of the matter with those is that no one really cares. Like, I didn't come to your website to hear about what you care about. And honestly, 90% of the time, these brand values are so generic and sound just like everyone else's that it's not a real differentiator. You might think it's a differentiator, but I promise your customers it's not. And that's not what they really care about. Someone is coming to your website not to hear about you, but to hear about what you can do for them. And so the sort of new customer journey, and what works way better and what I've seen convert much better and will just build higher trust for your brand and just make your brand less boring, is if instead of that animated explainer video or here are our values type of video, is if instead you do some sort of narrative type of video. I've seen comedic style videos work super well that really focuses on the problem and not your solution. Because the first thing you want to do is connect with them on the problem. Someone comes to your homepage, think of it as like a first date. You can't automatically say, buy our product on the first date. It's like asking someone to marry you on the first date.
Yeah.
And so you got to warm them up a little bit first, right? You got to build a little bit of trust. And the best way to do that I've seen is through comedy, is through connecting with them on the problem that they're having. And again, it doesn't have to be comedy. It could be something a little more serious. I've just seen comedy work better.
Right.
Because again, like, don't take your brand too seriously, because at the end of the day, you know, your CRM is not the most important thing in the world going on. It isn't. And that's why comedy tends to land a little bit better. But if they go to your website and click on that video, and bonus if you make them laugh, and then they can see, oh yeah, these people really get the problem that I'm having. Yeah, I relate to that. That makes sense. That's when you're going to get their attention. They're going to want to really learn more. Then you have them then they go to that product page to say, okay, I want to learn what this product is about, because they seem to really understand the problem that I'm having. So chances are they've got a solid solution. Right. That's when a talking head style video with the real person, because people just convert better and people like people. Right. That's when you have, here, let's get into the nitty gritty of the product. You can have actual things of the product popping up so that you can get a taste of what the product looks like, really hit on those main features and benefits and value propositions in that product video on the product page. And those are the two types of videos that I've seen work the best. And that's sort of like the new user experience when it comes to video content on your website and the customer journey.
You make a good point, because the type of videos that really get me to watch it from beginning to end are the ones that really make me laugh in the first 30 seconds. Totally. And then I'm like, okay, I'm willing to watch how this stuff ends.
Totally. And then you're probably much more willing to check out the rest of the content that brand altogether has, right?
Yeah, and it stays top of mind. And then I'm able to talk about it with family and friends later too. Exactly. I might even share the YouTube link if it's on YouTube. I might share it with somebody else.
And be like, oh, this was funny. We were having this problem. It's hilarious. And they go, oh yeah, what's that brand? It keeps you top of mind, as opposed to no one is sharing your this is why our CEO thinks our brand values are professionalism and excellence and trust and loyalty. No one's sharing that video, and certainly no one is sharing your animated explainer video.
Yeah. I wanted to talk about your process, but before we dive into the process, one of the things I like doing is getting audience feedback. Not audience feedback, but also questions from people that I'm going to interview. So one question that I got, yes, this makes it very interesting, is do you think Davinci Resolve is a good program to get started for video editing?
Absolutely do. It's one of the, there's a couple programs that actual professional video editors use, and Davinci Resolve is 100% one of them. There's going to be less you can do in there in terms of graphics. I do prefer Premiere Pro in terms of what you can do and the integrations with After Effects and everything like that. But Davinci Resolve is what I actually personally use Davinci Resolve for anything to do with color grading, because it's really the industry standard for color grading software. And so, yes, I think Davinci Resolve is an incredible program to get started with. It's easy to go from Davinci Resolve to something like Premiere Pro or Final Cut. The best thing about it is it's free. They do have a studio version that I have if you're someone who's really getting into more of the higher VFX that they have. But for your average person, I think there's a lot you can do in Davinci Resolve. It's a great place to start.
Nice. Great question and great answer. I love it. Now let's get back to the process. So tell me, so there's a lot of marketing professionals, B2B marketing professionals that, tune into the show from time to time. And you're pretty much someone that they probably need to work with, honestly. But they also want to work with, and they want to probably know what your process is and how to get in contact with you. And I want to cover all that.
Yeah, so the first thing is you can either shoot me an email at Danielle@epiqmedia.com, EPIQmedia.com, or you can go on our website, epicmedia.com, EPIQmedia.com. You can chat in with Drift. Not I had to have Drift on my website. It would be ironic if I didn't. And then we also do have a brand questionnaire form where if you have more of a specific idea of what you want already, you can fill out a form and we'll get back to you as well. And then from there, I like to really just sit down and have a strategy call, totally free, whether you make a video with us or not. I sit down and have a strategy call. I love to hear, okay, what is it that you're looking for? We always start with strategy and goals in mind. Like what is the thing that you're looking for from a marketing team perspective? Are you looking for more website conversions? Are you looking for a campaign that you can use both on your website and social and really get leverage out of it? Are you looking for maybe more daily content? Are you looking for a product video? Are people maybe not understanding your products well enough? That sort of thing. Because sometimes people will think that they want a certain video, but it's the wrong type of video. And so that's why I always start with strategy, because I want to make sure that you're getting the right video for the problem that you're having. And from there, usually I'll end up coming up with the exact solution on that call. And from there, if it's a narrative style thing, what we'll do is me and my team of writers will come up with a few different concepts, and then you'll pick your favorite concept and we'll write the script for it. And then we'll produce everything start to finish. Yeah. So you really don't have to worry about that, because my biggest thing is like, let the screenwriters be screenwriters. Don't hire a copywriter to write your narrative script. Don't even try to write a narrative script yourself, because it's a totally different style of writing. It won't work out well. I've had clients that have done that in the past, and doing it yourself really shows. So don't do that. So that's why for that particular process, we take care of that completely. Now, if it's a product video, what we usually do is we say, awesome, what we're going to have you do, it's a talking head video. We'll figure out the production details of, okay, are we shooting in a studio? Are we shooting on location? Are we using talent? Are we shooting with someone internally on your team? And also in terms of production, we source all the talent. We have all the gear. You have zero to worry about there. We kind of take care of all that. But with a product video.
No, sorry, go ahead.
Oh yeah. So with a product video, since it's so product focused, what we usually have people do is the client will write that first draft of the script, just because they know, okay, here's our value propositions, here's what we really want to get across. But then we'll take that script and we'll totally reshape it. Most of the time, unless you have an amazing internal copywriter that just really gets it, most of the time the script will look totally different from the first version that you sent it to us. But it's always best for us to have that sort of baseline.
That's good, because a lot of times it's the client comes up with the script or they have an idea what it should look like,
Yeah.
they'll send it to a video editor or someone who does video, and they'll deliver on that, but it's not the best. Like, you don't have someone that's really going to provide feedback, recommendations. They might just come back and be like, here's your video cuts. It's good to go.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's like the difference between hiring a videographer
Hmm.
and a real creative agency who understands both marketing and high production video. And really, like, our team, it's like, yes, we do marketing, but you know, when we're not doing this, we're also writing plays for Broadway producers. We just shot
Wow.
SNL. Like, we're
Wow.
doing
Seriously.
actual narrative work. Yeah.
That
Like,
is
we're
big.
doing actual narrative work. And so yeah, we take that and apply it to your B2B brand. So it's really taking that, like, we're bringing that Hollywood narrative style and the actual writers and you know, people behind the camera on
Yeah.
these sets and giving the B2B world access to it.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that. That was something I learned from
Yeah.
you.
Uh-huh.
There you go.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Now, who is your ideal client?
Oh, my ideal client is someone who's looking to really stand out with their brand and who is really and who someone who understands the value of story.
Hmm.
Um, and so my ideal client says, yeah, we understand the value of this. We trust you guys and are ready to invest in this. Send us some concepts. Um, and you know, often we'll talk and say, okay, so what is it that you're trying to get across? Like, what is
Right.
the story here? What is it that you want to get across? What's the core? What's the crux of the problem that we're trying to get across? And from there, we'll come up with some creative concepts. And our ideal client is the one that's ready to go with like the the most interesting out of the box type of concept that is going to be really fun and really make a dent in the industry and really stand out to their clients. That's the type of ideal customer at Epiq Media.
Nice. And lastly, do you have any advice or tips for our listeners?
Ooh, and on anything more specific, just in general, or
Anything. It can be for, if you want to be more specific, maybe for a B2B marketer that might be looking to, one, it's strapped for cash, and what would
Mhm.
be the best thing for them to do. And then maybe another scenario is where they're growing rapidly and they need somebody to do the creative and everything for them.
Yeah, if you're strapped for cash and if you want to do things scrappily, start scrappy. That's where like you can take your like you don't have to if you're starting off, you know, don't go and spend $50,000 on a video.
Hmm.
Like that's actually a really stupid thing to do. If someone comes to me and says, "Hey, we're just starting off," I never recommend that because I think you want to test your messaging first. You want to make sure that you know what you want to say and who you're saying it to before you go and spend the money on optimizing how you say it. And so the best thing you can do is to just really post daily. It could be text tweets, it could be you talking on your iPhone,
Mhm.
anything. It could be, you know, little podcast clips that even if you do use Headliner, right? Like just little pieces of content to see what people respond to and what people don't. And then also, you know, make sure you spend a lot of time focusing on the actual brand story and the product itself, right? Like, what is this? Who is this product really serving? Make sure you know that. And once you get to that point, that's when you should go invest in those types of evergreen videos that will live on your homepage for a long time that you could sort of use as these big campaigns and sort of continue to do these bigger campaigns. But you need to sort of post regularly and use that sort of feedback loop that is social media to figure out what people are actually connecting with before you go and invest in those bigger pieces of content.
I love that. That's great feedback.
Mhm.
And then what about for someone that is growing and they need the creative and everything like that?
If you're growing and have the budget, I recommend hiring a professional. Otherwise, it's not going to look professional. If you're growing, you want to seem legit.
Mhm.
If you're growing and maybe don't have the budget yet, I would say it's always good to maybe start with that product video first, because you could always then go add that narrative video later, but make sure you have that narrative video in the back of your mind for when you do have the budget and for when you have grown, because
Mhm.
that's going to be the big differentiator, right? That's going to be a big thing that makes you stand out. And you can also even find ways to do smaller scale type of videos, right? Like something with one actor, one location, um, to that was my cat. To try to get the
No worries.
message across. Yeah. Bruce, you want to say hello? He's just sitting there. Um,
Too funny. We need to give him or her a microphone.
I know he loves being on Zoom calls.
I gotta see Bruce.
Wait, let me grab him. One second. Hey, Bruce, come here. Come here. Oh, you got locked in the room.
There he is, Bruce.
Most importantly, this is Bruce.
In training,
Yeah.
shadowing.
Yes. Yeah. He loves
Love it.
climbing on tripods.
It's the beauty of working from home, right? It's
What?
the beauty of working from home.
That I work from home. Bruce gets upset anytime I leave.
Yeah, yeah. Now, someone who is in, say, rapid growth and they're looking for creative, they see value in it.
Yeah.
You know, they're always shopping around, right? And obviously, to me, in my opinion, you're the best choice, great choice to really, get an inquiry from. But what should, B2B marketing professionals who are in that stage should be considering? When shopping around, what should they be looking for specifically, right? Because one thing you mentioned about
Yeah.
experience, like you're talking about, we're doing Hollywood type commercials, we're doing people with Broadway stuff, right? To me, I'm like,
Yeah.
that differentiates you guys from a lot of people. Like I can just weed out everybody from there.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say the two things, and that this has sort of been our differentiator, right? Is make sure they actually understand marketing strategy. That's been the biggest feedback that I get from clients is oftentimes I'll get off a call and a client will say, "You're the only one who seemed to really get it." And so it's not even a question.
Yeah.
And so just sort of, and I'm sure, there's definitely other people out there who get it. So, if just make sure that they're able to sort of level with you on the strategy and they're not just trying to sell you on anything. Um, and it should be more of a that first call with the video person should feel less like a sales call and more like a strategy call and more like a creative session, if anything. And that's sort of the biggest tell, right? If you get on a call and someone's like, we do this video for X amount of money and this video for X amount of money and this is our top tier, whatever, like that's a red flag to me, because I think every video project is going to be unique.
Right.
Every company needs something different. Anytime anyone asks us if we have a style, our answer is no. Our style is whatever best suits your marketing needs. And so that's sort of the biggest thing there. And then also make sure they do understand story, right? If you check out their portfolio and everything in their portfolio is like a bunch of like B-roll videos that it's just nothing more than B-roll, there's not really a lot of story there, then that's something that I would also steer clear of. That's kind of a telltale sign that they're a videographer and not someone who really understands story. But if you see, oh yeah, that had an interesting arc to it. Oh, that was something that stood out. Then that's the type of thing that I would definitely look for is just marketing strategy and interesting storytelling.
Nice. Well, hey, Danielle, you're throwing down some knowledge, but I know we're coming up on time. And I appreciate your time. And thanks for joining the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. On to the next one, and you make it a great day.